Good morning. Today on Spotlight, we continue our examination of the controversial Enbridge Line 5 pipeline under Michigan waters. Late last year, we devoted a considerable amount of time on this program to two people who want it shut down. Beth Wallace of the National Wildlife Organization and Oakland University professor Jeffrey Ensko. Today, the opposing point of view. My guest, Mike Fernandez, Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer for Enbridge, a Canadian company based in Calgary, Alberta. It's Sunday, February the 6th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Mike Fernandez, thanks for joining us today on Spotlight from Sumter, South Carolina. I know that's not where Enbridge is headquartered. You're traveling. I trust your weather is a whole lot better than ours right now.
It is a tad warmer here. Thank you for having me, Chuck.
All right, it is certainly our pleasure. Mr. Fernandez, let me ask you, say we bump into each other in the grocery store, which means you've got about 30 seconds of my attention, and you tell me that you work for Enbridge, and I ask you, I say, in 30 seconds, what's the best thing you can tell me about Enbridge? What would you say?
I would say that Enbridge is the largest transporter of energy in North America, and it's a very key player in energy transition in terms of building a bridge to a cleaner energy future by investing in renewables and greening its own operations.
All right, and then if I said, okay, now tell me the worst thing about Enbridge in 30 seconds, what would it be?
The worst thing is that they're headquartered in a very, very cold place.
Even worse than what we're experiencing in Southeast Michigan right now. All right, that's a good answer. This is a controversy that has been going on since 1953. A lot of people are almost to the point where they say, you know, this is not going to ever be solved. It's just been going on and on and on and on and on, and there's been legal challenges and politics and money, you name it. Your opinion?
This problem in part was solved back in 2018 by bipartisan votes in both houses of the state legislature in Michigan. There was an endorsement for the creation of the Mackinac Straits Corridor Authority to oversee the development and construction of a tunnel at the Straits in which to house the actual pipeline at the Straits more than 100 feet below the lake waters.
Mm-hmm. Not terribly long ago, sometime latter part of last year, I was doing an interview for the Historical Society of Michigan, and I was talking to former Michigan Governor Jim Blanchard, used to be the ambassador to Canada, very popular ambassador to Canada, we might add. I said, Governor, should Line 5 be shut down? And he said, no, it's too important to both countries. Yeah. I would assume you would agree with that, even in the face of a whole lot of other people out there saying, shut it down.
Yeah, and I think really what transpires is there are multiple issues that get conflated in and around Line 5. One is that people have specific concerns about any kind of pipeline at the Straits. So that's one issue. Another issue is just there are some that are, NIMBY, not in my backyard. I don't want anything to do with a pipeline in my backyard. I don't care about anything else. Mm-hmm. There are still others that look at this as an opportunity to try and shut down a pipeline and thereby sort of force the issue on renewables and energy transition. And then there's still others that use this as kind of a political football, and that's unfortunate. This is not a new pipeline. This is a pipeline that lots of people are dependent on, to the former governor, former ambassador's point. And it's Michigan that's dependent on it. It's multiple states throughout the Midwest that are dependent on it, as well as Canada's two largest provinces.
Paint the economic picture for me from your perspective. This deals with how many jobs are we talking about? What kind of money are we talking about in terms of economic development, both on the American side and the Canadian side?
Yeah, so I don't know that we have the absolute total quantification
The
because
ballpark.
it's some multiples of what I'm going to even share with you right now. But in the state of Michigan alone, we have almost 50,000 people in and around the energy industry that are somewhat dependent upon what flows through Line 5 today. It's actually a number like 47,000 in terms of the economic reports. You add on to that literally thousands of workers in the auto industry and in manufacturing throughout the state that are dependent, that their actual products are dependent upon what's in that pipeline. I mean, there are plastics that go into automobiles. There are plastics and other materials that go into medical devices and packaging and warm winter coats. And there also is, if we're going to fix the damn roads, as the governor said back in 2018 when she was running, you also have asphalt, and that's dependent upon oil. So you ratchet all of that up, and you talk about, it's not so much about a dollar figure as much as our way of life.
All right, we need to take a quick little pause for the cause. We'll come right back and have you address what would happen if indeed Governor Whitmer gets her way and it is shut down on the spot, what that might entail. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight, talking to Mike Fernandez, Chief Communications Officer for Enbridge, also Senior Vice President with that Canadian company. All right, this has been going back and forth in the legal field. Most recently, Governor Whitmer kind of threw it back into the state courts. If she and our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, are successful in getting it shut down, almost on the spot, if we get that kind of legal order that comes through, what would that cause?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think that will fundamentally happen based on what we're seeing unfolding in the courts and in a discussion between the U.S. and Canadian governments. That said,
and we should probably add that the Biden administration so far, last I checked, said that they aren't going to shut it down, at least from the federal level.
Right, and part of this goes back to the relationship between the two countries, the fact that there's been a treaty in place since 1977 called the Transit Pipelines Treaty, which was actually negotiated by Trudeau's father with the Carter administration and passed by an overwhelming vote in the U.S. Senate, including an aye vote from a senator from Delaware by the name of Biden. So I don't think that that's horribly likely, but if it did happen, clearly it would have an impact on jobs. Clearly, people would have to find other ways to get that source of energy, and those sources aren't readily available today because I've heard other guests that you've had on talk, well, they can just get it from other pipelines. Well, there's already demand for those other pipelines in terms of what's in those pipelines. So a couple of things probably happen. One is the price of oil goes up. Two, there would be shortages. You wouldn't want a shortage in the middle of what we're going through now in terms of the depths of winter. And it would take some time to re-engineer how are we going to transport this by truck and rail and barge. And all of those means, by the way, burn more fuel than transporting that same fuel through pipelines. So it's a little odd that we have people who say for environmental reasons, we want to move this on trucks, which there's not enough trucks available even today to move a lot of the goods that we want in our stores. And then to also think that we're going to pollute the environment from these other modes of transportation to get that same fuel, and the amount of trucks that would require and the amount of trains that would require would be problematic. And if you decide you're going to build more rail lines, you still have to get approval for those rail lines. You're still going to have NIMBY issues associated with building those new infrastructures. So it's very complicated.
Sure. Mr. Fernandez, environmentalists point to the fact that if indeed there is a major oil spill, that could be disastrous in terms of environmental. They point to the 3 different strikes that you've had on the pipeline. A few years ago, I talked to Margaret Dowell, the long-serving mayor of Mackinac Island. Tourism is the lifeblood of that island that sits in the middle of the strait. And she says, if something like that happened, she said, you might as well just write Mackinac Island and its history right off. What precautions is Enbridge taking to make sure that that pipeline is safe?
Yeah, so first, I think it's important that we separate political hyperbole from science and technology and what's actually the risk. The reality is there has never been a risk of that oil that's in that pipeline going into the waters at the Straits. That said, we do have a solution that's been approved by the state legislature with building that tunnel. Mm-hmm. And as a consequence, we spend millions of dollars every year to 24/7 monitor ships that are coming through the Straits. We do tests on that pipeline. There are review processes done with the federal regulator who regulates for safety of pipelines throughout the United States in PHMSA. And we continue to get a clean bill of health, and everybody says this is still fit to operate. Go ahead.
Very quickly, how long, from your perspective, would it take to build that tunnel? Because I've heard varying figures, and your critics say it's going to take them at least 10 years to do it. Would it take that long?
Well, it depends how much people want to tie us up in court or in regulatory process. That's really what dictates the time frame. To get a tunnel like this built is probably, in just building it, is probably like a 4-year exercise. That said, we have to go through various regulatory approvals, and there will undoubtedly be people who file lawsuits. And, people in government can complicate this as much or to a lesser degree than they want to. My great hope is that the governor and others will have some urgency about this and move ahead on doing the right thing to get this tunnel built in as fast a fashion as is practical.
All right, we need to take another little quick break. We'll hurry right back with more questions right after this. In 1953, when they built this was state-of-the-art technology up under the water. That's 68 some odd years ago. We used to build homes and paint with lead in them. We don't do that anymore because we found out, okay, that's not good for us, but we didn't know back then. Mm-hmm. Has this technology outlived itself as we talk about trying to move to a world that deals with clean energy, and what was good then maybe is not the best now?
Yeah, so just to underscore, as we look at that broader environmental issue, it's important to know that, one, I believe in sustainability. I am a Democrat. I worked on Capitol Hill for a United States senator who was a Democrat. And I believe that we need to build a bridge to a cleaner energy future. And so does Enbridge. But what we are using today, we need to make sure that it is the best technology and it's the safest way to move this oil, as well as the most environmentally sound way to do it. We are very fortunate at the Straits that the pipe that was actually used is from the same iron that was used to build the bridge itself. And it's a very strong alloy. it also, the walls of that pipe are a lot thicker. They're almost twice as thick as almost any other pipeline in the United States or in Canada for that matter. So it's very safe in and of itself. That said, what we're also doing is we're investing throughout our system in order to create better safety guidelines, better technology in order to manage the flow of that pipeline. And that's really what matters. But we need to do, as we've heard it said, build back better. And we need to improve the infrastructure that we have just as we begin to move to what might replace it 10, 20 years out.
Sure. Mr. Fernandez, how do you answer your critics who say, look, if this has been going on since 1953 and we're still dealing with it, that's proof that Enbridge, big company, powerful company, uses its money and its political clout to be able to wear the political adversaries down. You've gone through a whole lot of Michigan governors, that's not to even get into Wisconsin and some of the political types on the Canadian side, that you just wear them down, and by the time they leave office, this is still going on and they can't stay in office, especially with term limitation, as long as it may take to wear you down.
No, I mean, I think there's way too much politics in and around this. I think that there are way too many agendas in and around this. But the fact is that this hasn't been much of an issue except for the last decade. That it is operated without incident. And now we're in a time where there are lots of other issues where people are concerned about the environment. They hear about an anchor strike, and the political powers that be want to play that out in different ways. We want to take every precaution. We use devices that are X-ray that pipe periodically to make sure that everything is operating safely and well. The key here is having the right focus on safety, and then let's talk about the transition in terms of next steps.
All right, we need to take one more break. We'll come right back with some final questions. Stay with us. You've been working with the Native American tribes on this, which is a key part of this. Give us a quick update on where that stands.
Yeah, so whenever we work on a project, we reach out to indigenous communities and tribes and make sure that what we're doing has little to no impact on their needs and their culture. And so we continue to have those conversations in and around what we will do in terms of construction at the Straits. Because of location, it's not clear that there are many assets at risk, if any. But that said, we want to meet, we want to listen, we want to do what's right, we want to respect their treaty rights as we do in other parts of U.S. and Canada.
Bottom line, you're optimistic that we will come to a resolution on this sooner than later?
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. I mean, and for a number of good reasons. I mean, there are economic reasons. The fact that 55% of the propane in Michigan comes from that pipe, 30% of the light crude, 80% of crude oil, and its importance to manufacturing in the state. I have to think that there's a way to come to cooler heads and a reconciliation around what needs to happen at the Straits of Mackinac.
Okay, can I ask you to put Enbridge aside in your title there, which is an extraordinary title. A lot of people don't realize that you're a public relations expert that is highly regarded around the nation. So I'm gonna ask you to put your professorial hat on because you teach at Boston University. You've got degrees from Georgetown and Columbia and Oxford, and you've received some of the highest public relations awards that you can get. To those students out there or young people in the profession of PR who are looking at just this week alone, they see two major controversies with the NFL as one of them, and then just what happened with CNN. If you had to give advice and say, how do you clean up those messes as a public relations expert, what would you say? What advice would you give them? Does it have to start from the top down, that you just got a clean house to be able to come in with a new culture?
Yeah, so a lot of it begins with an understanding of values and principles that you're going to operate with as an organization, and then reinforcing that with actions and messages. You know, I look at what's happened to the NFL. I've spent a lot of time during my career dealing with diversity issues and trying to develop more inclusive organizations, as well as more inclusiveness just within the sphere that I work in terms of marketing, PR, government relations. But I think it really begins at the heart as to what are the principles and values that we hold most dear as an organization and as a society. And then in our roles as communicators, as counselors, as advisors, trying to hold leadership and our organizations accountable in smart ways. And one of the ways, for instance, we've done that at Enbridge with our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts is saying we're going to link this to real performance, and that performance is going to be linked to pay. And so literally we have a formula now at Enbridge, it's relatively new in the last 2 years, where our progress both on environmental work in terms of what we're doing on the energy transition, as well as what we're doing from diversity and equity and inclusion, is put together in a formula such that pay for, that's compensation for every employee, is tied to how well we perform in those categories.
Mike Fernandez, thanks so much for joining us today on Spotlight, and we'll stay in touch. If you missed our first pipeline conversation, go to WXYZ.com, click on Spotlight, and scroll down to the December broadcast. We'll keep our eye on this controversy, and we'll have much more on the Enbridge Line 5 pipeline in the weeks and months to come. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the Spotlight. We hope you have a great week.